Good Friday, everyone. It's me, the Christian imperialist. And last night I put out a poll what you wanted to see. Did you want to hear me talk about Russia and Ukraine? Things are getting really interesting there. Or did you want me to talk about Epstein and the election? Or how about ancient Near East typologies? Because that would have been fun. And when I went to bed last night, that was leading. And then, of course, the fourth option was shut up and meme, which I had some really good stuff just lined up for you. But Vox Populi, Vox Dei, the voice of the people is the voice of God. And apparently, y'all wanted to hear more about Epstein. So let's jump right into it. What happened? We were told back in December, hey, we're going to be releasing the Epstein files. People could see it in January. January's rolling around, and hey, we're going to release it January 22nd in 3 more weeks. And then out of nowhere, they released it. Just boom. Yeah, it's kind of inexplicable, but it's been one of those things where you're just like, oh, you don't look a gift horse in the mouth. We just take it as it is. Now, I will point there is some really interesting timing issues with this. If you follow me on X, you see that I mentioned this where they said they were going to wait till January 22nd. And then Donald Trump says, you know what? I'm going to release all of the evidence I have about these battleground state shenanigans with the 2020 election. And almost immediately you see the Epstein files just started getting turned over, and let's distract from the fraud that we were seeing, and let's talk about Epstein. And a lot of people, they've been diving into it. There's like 900 pages of court files, depositions, interviews, etc., etc. I will point out the important thing is that we never got the client list. What we got was interviews and depositions and things that lawyers have been investigating. But there's a lot of material like the flight logs, and I don't think anybody really wants to see the videos of what Epstein has been, recording and, as it's known as honeypotting and, getting evidence against people to blackmail them. No one really wants to watch that stuff. But there's a lot of journals and written material that say, hey, this fella, this Hollywood elite, this businessman, this congressman, this senator, he engaged with this at this time. Some people suspect that there are actual photographs prior to the digital age where you don't need to have DVDs and stuff like that, because Epstein's been running this for quite some time. And so there's a lot of information, hard evidence, like a client list or flight logs or stuff like that, that we don't see, and we don't get those in these files. That being said, these files, they have veracity, meaning that they have some truthfulness that stand up in a court of law, which is one step above hard evidence. You start having, this is legal evidence that's been vetted, that people can say that this will stand up in court. You say some of these witnesses, some of these Jane Does, like if they were ever in court, they would have to, be voir dired or whatever, to see if what they say is actually true. That's where it gets to a he said, she said, and it's very, very difficult. But as far as it stands, we know that Alan Dershowitz is a piece of crap. Bill Clinton, we've always known he's a piece of crap, even from 1978, where Juanita Broderick said, he raped me, and no one paid attention. In fact, we know the Clinton machine. Bill Clinton would be a sleazy son of a gun, raping and exerting himself on women. And then you'd have Hillary Clinton and her legal team basically character assassinate these women into the ground and make them disappear with hush money or intimidation, blah, blah, blah. And we've known this about Clinton all throughout this time. And unfortunately, people don't care. Believe all women doesn't apply when the victim is a Democrat. Let's be honest. Um, you can get into the whole Supreme Court nomination process where you believe women with stories that don't add up because events and things that never happened. That's a problem. But when it comes to Democrats, where the victims can say, I was here, these people were there, I have witnesses, people just sweep that under the rug because they're Democrats and they control the media. So, all I'm saying is, yeah, things were released. They have veracity because they are held up in court so far, but it's not what everyone was hoping for. We still don't know who the clients are, other than these few names. And for the life of me, I swear I knew some of these names had already been outed at some point. So I'm not saying that this is a nothing burger, but it's a very minimal release that doesn't really change a whole lot, except now normies know that it's not just Alex Jones saying this. It's not just the Joe Rogan podcast that's flinging crap against the wall. It's a real thing. And so it's kind of a big thing, but again, it's not what this earth-shattering expectation of is like. Hey, we found all these actors and all these politicians, and some people speculate that the reason why Ghislaine Maxwell is not in prison right now, and she doesn't have a plea deal or anything like that, is that there's a coordinated effort to cover up. And I kind of believe that because we already see Tony Blair and Bill Clinton and all these heads of state getting outed in this information that was released, but we're not seeing everything. Who's above Prince Charles, or who's more important that could sway things than those heads of state like Tony Blair and Bill Clinton. And obviously the question is, okay, well, if Epstein didn't kill himself, Epstein also didn't hire himself. He didn't do this entire operation just for his own edification, because you don't see him pulling all the strings. You don't see him personally doing it. If someone has the power to kill him, he cannot be the puppet master behind this whole operation where he's got hundreds of influential people blackmailed. He's got to have some master above him. And who that is, we don't know. Thus, there's obviously a cover-up. So, let's get on to the GOP. Now, with all this coming to light, I still don't understand why Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis are staying in this. Last polls that I saw nationally, Donald Trump was up like 66% versus the field. 11 to 14%, depending on, the state. I don't believe Nikki Haley has 14% in New Hampshire. I could be wrong, but I don't believe it. I don't live in New Hampshire. Could be, but again, even at 14%, a lot of delegates are still going to be going to Donald Trump. And you really can't hope for a second place finish to springboard you into the delegate lead by the time of the convention. So what are you doing? Ron DeSantis has stuck his foot in his mouth about January 6th. That's kind of a pain, but people think that he's compromised and he's beholden to donor money, and basically that's what I told people. We already know that the Democrats are willing to throw the kitchen sink at Donald Trump, that they've tried to impeach him multiple times, that they've tried to arrest him and bring up false charges against him multiple times. They've even gone so far as to start arresting and charging his lawyers for giving him counsel. Now, since our law system is based upon English common law, The idea of going after your legal representation is something that was put to an end in like the 11th century. Like you can't do that. But here we are in a lawless state where apparently now you can go after lawyers for asserting things, and that's not really allowed. But Democrats are doing this. So if Democrats are willing to do this for Donald Trump's legal representation, Ron DeSantis, he doesn't have the war chest. He doesn't have the billions to defend himself and his lawyers. That means that all of his lawyers, all of his own personal legal defense is going to have to be funded by himself. Now, my understanding is that Ron DeSantis was a fairly successful JAG lawyer in the military, Navy, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. Put it in the comments that I'm an idiot. If he has that kind of money, he's not rolling in it. He's not a billionaire top 1%er like Donald Trump and anyone else. And so he's completely beholden to donors and people who could give him political coverage. And that's an important aspect, because now you see that when it comes to questions like January 6th, he gives very, very odd, we'll just say Democrat talking points on the subject, which means that he's not telling the truth, that it was an unarmed protest. Let's start there. And secondly, he's perpetuating this idea that those that participated in it were being evil and all this. And that's really not the case. There might have been people in the FBI who were inciting violence, but as we see, it's not the norm. And as I mentioned on X, if you really wanted to have a based response, you'd say, look, the real insurrection took place May 29th, May 30th of 2020, where you had a coordinated effort of spontaneous rioters who are using incendiaries and blunt force trauma, who put 60 Secret Service officers in the hospital as they were attacking the White House lawn. They were attacking a sitting president. Donald Trump didn't have anything to do with George Floyd. Anything. He's not in the same state. He's not even controlling the law enforcement. He has nothing to do with it. Yet there was a coordinated attack on the White House. And this may be the first time you've heard that 60 Secret Service agents were sent to the hospital, but it was there. I can show you screenshots. It was on CNN. It was I believe it was Bannon who was saying it, or no, it was Barr. He went on C-SPAN the day after in a sit-down interview. I remember watching it, and he explained that so many Secret Service agents were being treated for blunt force trauma, for being burned, getting hit with rocks, getting hit with bottles. They were hospitalized because of this riot. That's more of an insurrection than a bunch of people carrying flags and Viking helmets, maybe one dude, face paint. So this idea that January 6th was violent, but May 29th, 2020 was peaceful, or at least mostly peaceful, it's complete divorce of reality. And so, as I said, get back to this. What's Ron DeSantis doing? What's Nikki Haley doing? In one sense, I love them because there is a segment of the GOP that is a never Trump. And they're pouring their money into Nikki Haley, trying to make him a thing. And so they're using all their money trying to make Nikki Haley, a female, a thing. It's 2023. Oh no, it's 2024. She could change genders. Who knows? She supports it for its personal decision. Anyway, not really a good Republican. So I don't mind them out there wasting all this money. I'm in Texas. I love when Hollywood is like pouring money into like Beto O'Rourke and all these candidates who really have no chance at like the governorship. Texas, newspapers and radio stations and local TV stations, they will take they'll take that money and make those ads and be happy about it. but it's just wasting money. And the idea that these Hollywood elites and these big donors think is, oh, we'll slowly change Texas over time by having this amount of advertisement, and just kind of hope that they will affect Texas politics. But in fact, the demographics is more of an important story. That gets me back to the GOP with Vivek basically talking about the Great Replacement Theory. We all know it. I won't say that demographics are destiny, but it is very important. And I think that's more likely what's turning Texas purple than Beto O'Rourke being a great candidate and getting his ads out there where oh, I visited 254 counties. Ooh, big whoop. That's really what people want is a tourist well, anyway. So get out the vote fraud. That's my final point. We're going long. We're at 16 minutes already. I want to do a video on the get out the vote fraud. Now, I mentioned that Donald Trump posted on his website, his social media site, every state and their fraud, where you have more voters or more ballots than actual voters are registered. He's got a very extensive list. I can go through that, but this I want to touch on at some point, where I talk to you as someone who's done on-the-ground campaigns, how you can have fraud even in deep Republican districts that mute the Republican the Republican turnout for an election. This is a very fun topic. It's a little inside baseball, but I do want to touch it. And so if there's any interest in this video, let me know in the comments, because a lot of people have this idea that, when you're doing a get out the vote effort, you look at the neighborhoods that are 50-50. Oh, this is 50% Bush, this is 50% Gore. Let's go in there and turn out the vote. Let's go in there and change hearts and minds and get them to come to our side. That's how you win elections. You go after the middle. No. Modern get out the vote is much more complicated than that, and that district, that precinct, is the last precinct the Republicans and the Democrats ever touch. It's a waste of time, it's a waste of effort, and it's a waste of money. So I want to talk about get out the vote, and I want to tell you about get out the vote fraud, because I've been developing, or at least because of my expertise on get out the vote, I know how you can do fraud even in Republican districts that slant toward Biden. And that's a fun story for us to look at. And so anyways, happy Friday. It's the weekend. I'll be doing more of these. Hey, God bless and Christ over all.